Guy Shrink Podcast, the show where we ask, what keeps a guy awake at night? Or sometimes we ask, what ought to keep a guy awake at night? We're broadcasting from Toledo, Ohio, good old America's Glass City. My partner in crime today, as always, is my good friend and producer, Jordan Valdivias, who's in Los Angeles. Boy, the wonders of technology, right? Okay, so it's a big shout out to Jordan. On our show, what we like to do, at least I like to do, is I like to ask questions about what keeps the guy wrestling with, like meaning and purpose, personal identity, managing stress, anxiety, relationships, the demands of daily life, and hopes and dreams as well. We all got those too. Our goal here, at least I'd like to see it as that, is we want to help you be good, not just feel good, but to be good. So my guest today is Nick Eby, who is high school wrestling coach and school teacher in a local school in Monroe, Michigan. And Nick's going to have a great presentation today because we're going to talk about his mission as a wrestling coach and what he does to help guys take the discipline of the mat and take it further with honor, integrity, accountability, effort, and some resilience as well. So if you're sitting down, grab a cup of Joe and join our conversation. Listen up as we look at wrestling as a proving ground for life, how discipline, effort, and ownership can create the kind of guy you really want to be. So welcome, Nick. Good to have you here. So tell me, what keeps a guy like you awake at night?
Thank you for having me. What keeps me awake at night right now, since I'm in wrestling season, it's my wrestlers, thinking about, how practices are going to go, or answering, parent questions, email and stuff. But trying to get the wrestlers to be the best that they can be is right now what keeps me awake at night.
Okay, well, great. So tell us a little bit about you as a teacher, and you're in Monroe, Michigan, and what do you teach, and how long have you been being the coach?
So I've been coach 7 years. This is my 7th year. I was assistant coach for 1 year, and then the old coach was a dad that took over the program for 3 years, and then after I was assistant coach for the year, he just said, "Hey, you're the head coach now." So I didn't even really have an interview or anything. He didn't return any wrestlers my first year, so the program was pretty small. But he just said, "You're the head coach." So I took that on, and over time, it's helped me grow a lot as a person, and I'm super grateful for the opportunity.
How many guys do you got on a team right now, Nick?
So I have 28 on the roster. Yes, we have about 26 competing.
Wow, that's great. And you're teaching as well. What subjects are you teaching there at school?
Yep. So it's pretty nice that I'm able to coach where I teach. Not all the time is it like that, but a lot of times it works out where you can be in the building with the kids. But what do I teach? I teach health, computer tech, which is both freshmen, gym, which is sophomores to seniors, but they don't have to take gym because they can get exempt if they play sports. And then I teach one semester a year. I teach computer programming.
Okay, that's a nice array of subjects, I would think.
Yeah, it keeps me interested. I think it's enough to keep me have enough variety.
Very good. We've been a coach now for 7 years, and so let's talk a little bit about what kind of philosophy guides you as you coach these young men and women. I understand you got a couple of women in your young ladies on the team, right?
We do. We have three of the 26 wrestlers are females, so young ladies. And it's awesome. On the women's side, girls wrestling is getting a little bit more popular. I think it's the fastest growing sport. And
really, oh,
so now there's more tournaments and stuff, so the girls can wrestle girls more, which I think is just cool opportunities for those girls. What was your question? Philosophy. So
philosophy. What guides Nick as the coach for these young men and women?
Yeah, so I try to push, mindset with the wrestlers. I think the two most important things in wrestling is first mindset and second position. You got to stay in good position with your wrestling. It's all about positions. It's a positional game. But then through mindset, I try to push, different. I think of them as core pillars and core values. The core values are a little more abstract, but the core pillars are a little more like a pillar, like that holds up the house that you can see is tangible. So the core values that we have are honor, hard work, accountability, dedication, and effort. And then our core pillars are be different, one more, gratitude, iron sharpens iron, and expect to win.
Okay. So can you say a little bit more about those 5 values you called it? The honor, hard work, accountability. Number one, how did you get there to these 5? And then talk a little bit about each one of them for a minute.
Good. That's a good question. How did I get there? How do we get there? I think I was looking at probably YouTube videos and stuff, but like Alabama's football team, they have these core values that they have that they walk through the halls and they see these values. And, there's probably a lot more values that you can look to and, virtues that you can try to embody as a competitor and as a person. But you just got to, I think, pick the ones that I think have the most meaning to you that you want to focus on, and those are the ones that I picked. The first one, honor, it used to be pride, but I kind of now I'm looking at pride as being the vice and honor the virtue.
Okay.
So I switched it to honor because I just think sometimes, was it the pride that cometh before the fall or whatever? So I just switched it to honor. I think, there's a little more, maybe it's just romanticism of the words. I don't know, but I like
Well,
honor, competing with, honor.
pride is one of the 7 deadly sins,
But I think in common, language, we sometimes use it for good and for bad.
Well, no,
It
absolutely.
is. So
Yes.
that's just how I think about it in my head. But for me, I
Yes.
think I need to have a good, conceptual structure of things. Otherwise, I don't understand anything at all. I'm just,
No,
it-
that's
it-
good.
yeah. But then, so hard work, effort, those those are a requirement for being successful in anything. You have to be willing to do hard things. You have to be willing to give great effort. And then being accountable for your actions and being dedicated to something. I think those are just the 5 things that I chose at the time and kept kind of pushing to my wrestlers to help make them better individuals.
Because how do those guys and those young women manifest these values when they're out either in practice, on the mat, in a competition? How do you see that happening for them?
Well, in practice, I mean, I think practice and competition go hand in hand. It's just an iterative process of getting better. But
How's that manifest? I mean,
how does it manifest? How do they
how's that
naturally
going to
show?
show up with accountability? Well, how do you see it as their coach that they're being accountable?
Well, so for example, I don't know if I mentioned this to you before, but if a wrestler, there's a move called a headlock that's kind of like a drug a little bit, and you can kind of get addicted to it. So we try this year. We're trying to really stay away from it, and so that we can become better wrestlers overall. And like when you're wrestling somebody that's not as good, and you just throw a headlock, and you don't really learn anything from it. So we're just trying to embrace being a wrestler as a whole. And so if a wrestler throws a headlock, we make them do some extra work, like usually
Oh,
down.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay, so
so
then
that
what's
would be an
the
example
easy
of.
answer? I want to win this. I'm going to win this fast. I'll do a headlock and I'll win the
Yeah.
match. Okay,
So
I'm not going to learn anything. Yeah.
that'd be an example of accountability of, effort, hard work, and honor, I guess, all in one. If you hold them accountable.
No.
For me, it's on me as a coach, right, to hold them accountable for the
Yeah.
different things. But that's just a blatant one, I guess. But I mean, there's always effort in practice and getting better in how you drill and competing and with high effort and not like, just giving up or, thinking that you're just going to get something handed to you, because in wrestling, if you have to earn everything. So
Okay. So you got these 5 virtues per se, and then you have these what you call the 5 pillars.
yes.
Say a little bit more about the 5 pillars, 'cause I find those really interesting because you said be different. What does
Yeah.
that mean?
So be different. I mean, there's a quote by Chris Williamson. He says, normal people get normal results, weird people get weird results. And so why would you want to be normal? Why would you want to be average? It's important to be weird, to be different, and to embrace, that you are different and that you're not going to settle for being average. So that's where that
Okay.
comes from. One more, you can always do one more. And that kind of often correlates with, the value of effort. Are you going to give the extra effort? Everyone practices. What are you doing outside of practice to get better? And also, just when you think you can't go anymore, you can always go one more. So that's where that one comes from. Expect to win. A lot of times you maybe have a harder competition and you're not expecting to win, and you might be expecting to lose. We don't want to do that. We want to expect to win, because if you think you can or can't, you're right. If you think you're going to lose, you're probably going to lose. If you think you're going to
Yeah.
win, you
Yeah.
got a better shot at winning at least. We're
Yeah.
not going to just roll over and give up, right? So going time again back into effort. Let's expect to win. We've got gratitude, all about perspective. There's a limitless amount of things that you don't have. So why are we always trying to get more and more and more? So just being grateful for what you do have is super, super important. And then iron sharpens iron. So every day in the room, we're just pushing each other to be sharper iron. So yeah, those are the pillars. I just think that they conceptualize things for me again, and going back to, I need to have concepts in my head, and they bounce back and forth with the values.
Yeah.
And yeah, we just
Yeah.
try to coach that.
Yeah. I see the pillars as the way that the values get lived out practically. No.
Probably, yes. That's probably what the answer I should have said earlier. But when you
No,
asked,
no, not at all.
manifesting, it's through the pillars. Yeah, you can see it through the pillars.
Yeah, I can see these pillars that guys can latch onto that. The iron sharpened iron is a really good one. I
Mhm.
mean, that's well, yeah, I think you've said earlier as you and I were talking that what's different about wrestling is it's just you. It's just you by yourself out there on the mat. No one's
Right.
coming to save you. You better be
For sure.
active in your own rescue kind of thing. But iron sharpens iron is you're really doing it for, you're also doing it for the team as well. I mean, that's the accountability
True.
thing.
Yeah. True. You want to get your teammates better. In a lot of tournaments, there's team tournaments, which means the team versus a team, and at the end, there's a total score. And yeah, in order for the team to get better, we got to have a lot of iron sharpening each other, so that there's something called the aggregation of marginal gains. I don't know if anyone's familiar with that, but basically that means, hey, you have this larger sum of something, and if you just improve the individual parts overall, the whole thing will improve. And so if you look at 14 wrestlers, if they just get 1% better every day, even though it's marginally, that results in a bigger gain for the team. So yeah, iron sharpens iron, just getting better every day, keeping it simple, getting better every day, but also it results in that big team jump.
Okay, I've found that if you have a buddy, say you're working out with a buddy, that you guys can tag team each other about you're holding each other accountable. But it does sharpen performance when you're with somebody. I
Oh yeah,
believe
oh yeah. Yeah,
you're
it's
learning
hard
the feedback. Yeah.
for sure. I did a half Ironman, kind of just by myself. Like I had two friends come and support me and stuff, which was awesome. Last July I did it, and it was super fun. But it would have been so much easier during the training to run with somebody, or to swim or bike with somebody, especially running, because running can be hard, especially going far. But anyway, yeah, my point is, yeah, it can be so much easier with other people training with you.
Okay, well, you mentioned as one of the pillars, go one more, keep it up. I think that was my first introduction to you because I caught you on a YouTube.
Hmm.
So I think you were doing 500 pull-ups a day or something, like some crazy thing, you know.
Yeah,
And
so I'm doing 200 a day right now, but that
200 a day. I mean, whatever, just to do 10 is enough for many of us.
right.
You're doing 200 a day, and it was like one more, I got to do it one more time. It was incredible to see that. That really was not motivating, but it was a motivating thing for you. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
has to do with my habits. I'm trying to hone in on my habits, and over break, I've got lackluster, but for a long time, since July, I've been able to maintain the 200 pull-ups, because just working toward doing a lot of pull-ups, I guess.
That's probably one of the most strenuous things you can do is a pull-up because it's body weight 100%.
Yeah, I love it. I think I do have a natural inclination, because when I was younger, I was able to do more pull-ups than those my age. But I think just putting in the reps, it's just one of those things where if I keep putting in the work, I think I'll be able to do more pull-ups. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Nick, I can't think of another sport that's as much of a contact sport as wrestling. And let's talk a little bit about your ideas about wrestling as a metaphor for life.
yeah. So I think the biggest thing to take away, and the biggest thing that we push with our wrestlers, is that we're fighters, that we're not going to give up, because I just think that parallels really well with life, and that there's always going to be things that are going to come your way, wins, losses are going to happen, but how do you just not give up and stay tough and stay gritty and keep working towards your goals? And there's a lot of other aspects of wrestling, like there's the aspect of it is self defense. If you look in the MMA world,
Yeah.
there's a lot of success that wrestlers have, and so there is a saying, like, what is it? Basketball is a contact sport, football is a collision sport, wrestling's a combat sport, and so I believe that, and so just like
Okay.
keep pushing the fact that the wrestlers, because there's also this idea that, like, sometimes you could be a really good wrestler, but you could still get caught on your back, and so when you get caught on your back, are you going to give up, or are you going to fight? So regardless of if you're the best wrestler in the state or the worst, you need to know how to fight.
And getting back up is a big thing, right?
And getting back up, yeah, just like Rocky, get
Yeah,
down,
right,
knock
right.
down 7 times, get right back up 7 times, right?
Yeah, right. I was listening to James Clear this morning, and he was talking about kind of wrapping up the year and all that, and kind of wrapping up. If you want to be a success, love failure. And it was like, that I didn't want to hear that, but that's what he was saying.
Right.
But it's not, and coupled with failure is and getting it back up,
For
and
sure.
getting back up, you
Yeah.
know, keep moving forward. Yes.
Yeah. Especially if it's something you really want to do, right? If it's something that you're dreaming of doing, then you need to search failure. You need to find challenge. And the very first day of the year, we talked about that. There's this video I showed the wrestlers. I forget all the details, but it focused on, one, getting better, and two, failing and
Okay.
finding mountains to climb.
Okay. So you've been a coach there for 7 years. So my hunch is that some of those guys you probably had as freshmen and are now seniors, and you've had them for 4 years. Is that fair to say?
Coaching wise, yeah, this is my
Yes.
third year teaching. So the
Yes, I
juniors.
mean, that's me coaching wise. I mean, coaching
Yes.
wise.
Sorry. Yeah.
So you've seen player development happen as well as character development happen.
Mhm.
What have been some of the takeaways you've seen as a coach in your players, in some of your guys and gals, about how they develop as people as well as athletes?
Sure. Yeah. So this year's senior crew, we have four seniors. One's a first year, one's a second year, and two are 4 year wrestlers. So I've had two wrestlers that I've had all 4 years. One of the two wrestlers, she I think has got a lot more better as a complete wrestler, and also a lot better in her mindset over the course of the 4 years. In how she looks at matches, how she looks at wins and losses. I know her freshman year she didn't handle losses as well as she does now, at least in my opinion. And then the other 4 year wrestler, as a freshman, he started halfway through the year, and you could see he always had this scrappiness about him, but he's applied himself and he's turned himself over the past 4 years into a really, really tough wrestler that we're hoping is going to keep doing great things for us. Sorry, what was your question?
Well, the question was, you've been there now long enough to actually have a couple of people come from freshman, sophomore, junior,
Yeah.
senior on your team, and you've had a chance to see them develop as athletes and
Mhm.
as character development. And you and I in a conversation talked about one of your main goals really is character development, in some of your players.
For sure. So these two examples too, they also come from good families. So I can't take all the credit, but I do think that they are outstanding people in their own lives. They're both 4.0 GPAs. They're both, work really hard. They both care about the people around them. And so they're just the type of good people that we want in our program. I think because we have this kind of culture, I think we also attract other young males and females that want to be, in this type of culture to where they can just become better people.
Nick, I think that's really significant what you just said, as far as the ability to attract young guys, young women who are interested, pursuing this avenue, this route of formation, and both as an athlete and as a person.
For
That's
sure.
really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
That's
well,
really
I think that's the case, and the reason I say that is I see a lot of wrestlers. We have a lot of wrestlers that are newer. We don't have wrestlers that all have wrestled since they were 6. We have a few, but we don't have very many that have wrestled, for their whole life. And so a lot of, at least in our program, since we haven't had this brilliant youth program, we've had to learn how to develop them a little bit faster in high school, which I think other teams sometimes lack, whether that be because of technique or because of strength or because of mindset. I think those are all, reasons. Those are all aspects of wrestling that really need to be emphasized. And I think we're doing a better job, especially as time goes on and coaches learn and wrestlers learn, of improving the program as a whole and making it, attractive culture.
okay. Now you've had guys who've graduated by now, right? You've had some who've graduated. Has any come back and said, "Coach, I really thank you for what you did for me, with me"?
I don't know if they're all, as direct as that. I think it's kind of like parenting. I don't think I
Right.
think when a parent has a kid go off to college, I don't think they're quite coming back to thank you while they're in college. Although maybe I think maybe it takes a little more time, keep gaining perspective as young adults. But I do, we had one wrestler's brother in the room over break. We had a few others that are going to be helping at our home tournaments this weekend. Actually, we had two, I think. We had another one come in over break. So I think they definitely remember their time with the program, and I think they definitely value it and value the time that they were able to compete, because for everyone that competition time will end, and so it's going to be bittersweet, but you just move on to the next, obstacles and challenges that you get the opportunity to face.
Okay. It sounds like you're doing a really great job, and you have a really successful program. When you got kids who want to be part of it, they're looking to be part of it, and you have improvement across the board in your athletes. So something is happening that's really good.
I think so. I think it's slow. It's slow, which is, how a lot of progress is. But I always, since I was in my first year, I had heard this somewhere, but Rome wasn't built in a day, and Rome wasn't destroyed in a day either, right? So
Right.
good
Right.
things take time, and for things to fall apart that are good, it takes
Yes.
time too.
Yes.
So you
Yes.
just keep building and find other people that can help the program. We have a several assistant coaches in the room that are just awesome guys, and not all of them were great wrestlers, but they you don't have to be a great wrestler to be a good coach, I think. So
I agree with that. Yeah.
I think
One of
over
my
time
personal
that's helped. Yep.
one of my personal values is keep moving forward. Just
Yeah.
keep just keep going. Just keep going.
I was
Yeah.
like Matthew McConaughey, just keep living.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, yeah. That's a yeah, that's a good reference. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a cool guy. Yeah.
Anthem.
For sure. Oh yeah, for sure. So tell me, how did you get to where you're at as far as you being a coach, you being a guy, your identity as a person? How did you get there? You just didn't fall. I was an instant success. After 10 years of hard work.
Sure, there you go. Yeah, as a coach, like I told you, he just kind of said, the old coach just kind of said, "You're the coach now." But as a person, I think just being a coach has helped shape who I am in a lot of ways. Kind of trying to figure out, hey, what is the philosophy of our program? But also, on a personal end, like in the off season, trying to, go out of my way to find challenge in my own personal life to make me a better coach. I think they just kind of work hand in hand. For example, I wanted to kind of feel what my wrestlers felt back a few years ago. So I started jujitsu in 2021. I would just do it in the summers because, you got to pay membership and it's fun. But I was coaching football, I was coaching wrestling, and I was coaching lacrosse. But I stopped coaching youth lacrosse. So I was doing a lot of coaching, and I just wanted to get back into the, competition realm and just kind of feel those nerves. And so in 2022, I did my first jujitsu tournament. I've done, I think, 6 or so total.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, throughout in the past 4 years, I've done
Yeah.
6 total, I think, and so
Yeah.
it's just good to, I think as coaches, we forget what it feels like, and we it's harder to relate. So I think that in some ways has helped me to relate to the wrestlers and kind of sharpen my mindset a little bit. Even the half Ironman, even though it wasn't a grappling, I think it definitely helped sharpen my mindset, sharpen my work ethic, sharpen my habits. So
Okay. And as far as jujitsu goes, I'm sure that you lost some matches. You failed,
I did.
and
Yeah.
your team got to see our coach failed.
Yeah, I don't know if they were there watching or, I put it on
But they heard
YouTube.
about it, I'm sure.
They might have. I don't know who heard what, but the first 2 tournaments, yeah, I did lose a few. I won a couple tournaments, and then now I'm a blue belt. So I need to get back into the arena and go compete as a blue belt because, obviously it's a little bit tougher going up a belt, and I need to embrace that.
Okay. But in the arena, you're referencing that wonderful speech by Teddy Roosevelt.
Yes. Yeah, I love that speech. So the credit belongs to Man Arena. It's not about the critics who are going to judge. And I think you just got to do the best with what you have and what you believe. And I believe that's where the credit belongs to the person who's competing, not to the people, all the people that are talking. There's tons of people.
Oh
It's
yeah.
easy to comment on the internet or do different stuff on the internet where you're just saying things. It's a lot harder to go out there and do. And so I also, with my wrestlers, I just try to push being doers and not talkers.
But we talked a little bit about failure, you and I before, and you talked about how that was really important, and you referenced Cal Newport's book, Deep Work, and that was an important read for you. Can you say more about that?
I forget why I referenced that as relating to failure, but I do know I really like that book and the idea of that I think I forget, it's been a while since I read it, but like distraction and splitting your mind in different ways is not
Yes. Right.
particularly beneficial. So
Right.
I think it's important to hone in on one or a few things to get pretty good at, so that you can get good at them. Otherwise, I think you kind of become a jack of all trades that master of none. So.
So it's I would say the deep work of focus, and there's no such thing as multitasking. That's what I wanted to get to. The
Oh
myth
yeah,
of
I don't believe in that.
multitasking. Yes. Yes. Yeah.
I don't believe in multitasking because I just think your brain's split in different ways, and I think I probably believe that from reading that book. But yeah, I think in college I'd have these different classes, and I had to learn different programming languages, and I didn't get good at any of them because I was trying to do all this different stuff, and then I was coaching and I was working and at a Mazrin's Feed and Grain, so I just was doing all these things, but not getting good at a single thing. So I think there's a lot of value in getting good at one thing.
Getting good at a single thing. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. You, in our conversation and already this today, you've talked about habits, forming habits, and I think that's a piece of Nick, at least in your formation. So tell us a little bit about how important it is for a guy to really develop some healthy habits, and how does Nick go about developing some habits that are helpful for him?
Well, it's got to be super super important. So I do a little newsletter during the season every week, and it happens to be on Wednesday. It's inspired by some other coaches, but it's called Weigh In Wednesday. So I just do a little thing. It gets sent out to whoever's on the email list, and then I share it on the wrestling team's Facebook page. And I was talking about habits in it, and I was talking about James Clear's exact, quotes that he talks about. James Clear said something, and then John Maxwell. John Maxwell was like, the secret of your success is found in your daily routine. Oh my gosh, I'm forgetting the quote. There's a first part of that.
I think you're on the right track though with it with Maxwell.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And then James Clear says something. My gosh, I'm forgetting it right now. I'm blanking. But anyway, my point is, I was just talking today about habits, but I was inspired mostly by Atomic Habits by James Clear, and the the importance of habits over time compounding, and
Yes.
then also this idea of changing your identity to be more likely to do your habits. So, for example, when I was running for a while, and so I had to. It was easier to think of myself as a runner than to say I'm trying to be a runner. And so I think just that idea in your head conceptually can make you be more likely to do the things that you're supposed to do. When I don't feel like going to work out and lift weights over at the gym, I have to remember that I am a lifter, and so I just think that embracing the identity of something. Some people are like, hey, I don't like labels or whatever. I do like identity. Who are you? We were all trying to figure that out. And we also have different roles that change through time, whether it be, brother, uncle, son, whatever. And so we got to embrace these roles and live up to them. And so if I want to be this YouTuber or athlete or lifter or runner, I need to embrace that identity. And then also in Atomic Habits, I think he talks a lot about removing friction and creating environments that lead to success, and that success is found through doing things that you want to do every day.
That makes sense. And I know that James Clear talks a lot about how important it is to form habits. Worry less about getting rid of the habit and concentrate more on building some positive habits.
Yes. Oh, I know what it is. He said a habit missed once is a mistake. A habit missed twice is a new habit. That
That's
was
good. Yeah.
that
Okay.
was
Yeah. That makes sense. Oh, that's good. And the importance of habits that are Maxwell's comment about our personhood is formed by the habits that we do over time.
for sure.
You
And
know.
also, I think I was watching a video even yesterday, and it was about some SEAL team operator who who was talking about anchors in his daily routine, anchors in his life, because he said, routines and stuff can change as you go through different seasons of life, but you can have certain anchors in your life. And weirdly enough, for me right now, like my morning yogurt is an anchor. It's an anchor. I get in protein after I do my pull ups, eat my yogurt. And for me, it's an anchor that, hey, I've at least started my day right. I've got my, pull-ups done, yogurt in me, now I can attack the rest of the day. I don't really know why that is. I don't know why morning routines are so important, but for me, that's helped me out a lot.
Well, we've talked a lot here on Guy Shrink with various guests about the importance of morning routines. It really is. I mean, I need my yogurt. I mean, and so you just said, I do my pull-ups and I have my yogurt. I'm ready to go. You actually say those kinds of things to yourself. I think we all have the habit of self-talk, but what do we talk to ourselves about?
Yeah.
That's what's really, really important.
Self-talk is what I'm trying to figure out. There's a book called Do Hard Things. I don't know. I can't remember the author, but there's some chapters in there about self-talk that I need to revisit. I think a lot of times we want to have positive self-talk, and that's good. I think there's times when you need both, when you need positive and negative, whether it be sometimes when I'm running and I'm like feeling sorry for myself or don't feel like doing it. I
Right.
gotta say, hey,
Right.
stop being a wuss,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
or
Right.
when I start thinking I can't do something, and then I say, well, no, you got this, or no, we don't say I can't, because I try to not say that I
Okay.
can't.
Okay. Yeah. Good. That's really good. And
Anyway, yeah, self-talk is my point, is super important. I'm trying to figure it out.
I have never lived today before.
Yes. Love that one.
Yeah, you said that when we met.
Well, I heard it on your podcast with my Uncle Tim.
Yeah, yeah. I've never lived this day before. I mean, that self-talk is so important as a habit, making that a habit as opposed to, oh crap, another day or whatever. Just like you, I have 200 pull-ups to do. I'm eating my yogurt. How important those morning routines are. And there's some good stuff. Tim Ferriss has got good stuff. Ryan Holiday's got good stuff on morning routines, and it was setting those habits early in the day can really help energize you for the rest of the day. It's so important.
Yeah.
Making the bed, for instance. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, starting your day off right. You can't win the day if you don't win the morning.
Amen to that. That's right on. So, well, let's talk a little bit about I think we talked about keeping awake. I think it's what we call about keeping awake and the importance of being diligent in your work and having a good positive, being a good positive person. What are some thoughts that you have on that? But be awake.
Be awake. I think you just always want to be chasing the best person that you can be. I mentioned Matthew McConaughey earlier. I like his book on green lights, and I like his philosophy on there. He has a speech online when he got an Oscar, I think it was Oscar award, and he said someone asked him who his hero was, and he said, "Come back in 2 weeks. I'll have to think about that." And then the person came back in 2 weeks, and he said, "I know who my hero is. My hero is me in 10 years." That same person came back to him in 10 years and said, "So are you your hero now?" And he said, "No, it's me in 10 years. I'm still chasing it." So I think just always trying to chase our potential is what that means. I don't know. I think that's what we all should be doing.
Okay. Okay. And you see positive results when you do that.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So Nick, what energizes you to keep moving what you're doing, to keep moving forward? What do you do? What energizes you?
Energizes me. Well, I think I just like doing things that I enjoy. I think if you want to have a good life, I think you need to do things that you enjoy, that bring you joy. And it's in the doing of these things. And for me, it's coaching wrestling. For me, it's spending time with, family that are close to me. For me, I like making videos too. Like making YouTube videos. I think
Mhm.
since I've started in my mind, again, identity becoming a YouTuber, I've had the opportunity to have different experiences that I've really enjoyed, as well as I've had an excuse to do fun things with other people more so than not doing that.
Yeah,
Um,
I like your YouTube. So you got some good stuff on
so
there, man.
thank you, appreciate it. Yeah,
It's
some of
fun.
it's pull-ups, but
Yeah, I mean, it's really good. I mean, just watching you prepare for that Iron Man thing was
yeah,
just pretty cool. Watching you do all that stuff. I mean, that's talking about rigorous stuff. You
for
know.
sure. Yeah, I'll do a full next year. That's mark my words.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I
At
say
the end,
that, but
right?
I think also there's a guy named Ned Brockman who I've been inspired by, who talks about what a decision is, and a decision is not just saying something, but it's also the doing of the thing. So I say that, but it's also me deciding to do that. I haven't decided fully until I've actually done it, at least in my mind. So,
I
yeah,
agree. I agree with that. Yeah, it's better to say I ran a marathon instead of saying I'm thinking about running one.
yeah. Or just there's plenty of people that say they're going to lose weight or whatever, and then they don't do it. It's like
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I think there's dopamine that goes to your head when you say these things.
Yes, it
Um,
does. Yes.
and so then I think people are more likely to say it, but then things get hard, that's when people break, I think. And
It's going back
so
to doing hard things. That book you talked about doing how important hard things are. Well, you mentioned enjoyment, and I think it's at least my conversations with you, knowing the concept of fun
yeah,
is certainly an important piece of Nick. And my hunch is that you give that out to your team as well. That this is enjoyable, it's fun, it's sweaty, but it's fun. And so,
yeah,
just say a few words about your idea about what fun's about in life.
yeah, fun. I think fun is a lot of times tied to things that bring you joy, but the things that bring you joy aren't always, you know, fun in the nature. Sometimes there's things you have to do that aren't as fun, and that's just sometimes the cost of being good at something. But yeah, I think you just want to do things that you enjoy, and a lot of things related to that can be fun for you. I think for me as a wrestling coach, I like to see improvement in my wrestlers. To me, that's fun. To me, seeing them, succeed or win matches can be fun, but we want to, win matches the right way. We want to win it from hard work and stuff, and not giving up. To me, that's fun. As a YouTuber, like I said, creating fun experiences or making people laugh to me is fun. So
No,
I think, yeah, a lot of my life, I'm trying to you know, find joy and have fun.
well, I think that's an important place to be, where you actually, I'm making my mind up to do this, as opposed to, I create the fun in myself. I'm willing to say this is fun, as opposed to saying, you know,
Yeah.
this is not fun, or this is gonna suck. This is gonna be awful.
So there's
Not
also perspective.
necessarily. Yeah,
There's
it is
also perspective.
perspective.
Yeah.
I agree. You
So
know,
saying I get to instead I have to, saying I can instead of I can't, or not even necessarily saying I can, but saying at least I'll try instead of saying I can't do something, and putting limits on yourself. And then just from Matthew McConaughey saying I love instead of I hate, I think are important tiny things that you can do in either in your actual words or in your self talk that I think for me has helped a lot. But the biggest one is have to change that to get to. And then once you say, hey, I chose to do this, I get to do this. Now it's a lot easier to have fun because you recognize that, hey, I'm in this experience, whether it's hard or not, I'm in it because I chose to be here. I get to be here. Now, how can I have fun with it? How can I smile through the journey? And whether that be, walking onto the mat for a jujitsu match or walking, diving into the pool for a swim workout, going to the gym to work out, running a marathon at midnight. I did that with one of my wrestlers
I remember
a couple
you
months ago, and I don't know if
running
you want to talk about
marathon
that.
at midnight.
Yeah, so my wrestler, I think he had seen me run a marathon with no training before, and it must have been in his head. And he said he was playing football. He said, if we lose this week, I'm gonna run a marathon. If not, I'm gonna do it after wrestling season. And then I was like, well, I'll film it. And then when it came down to it, I was like, well, why would I just film it and watch him just suffer? I was like, why don't I just run it with him? So we just ran together for a marathon. We started at 11, finished at like 3:39 in the morning.
That is so cool. So
Yeah, it definitely was difficult. The crazy thing to me was, number one, is at the end of the night. It wasn't like in the morning with no training where you have a little more energy. It was after he played a football game, and he didn't complain once. Literally did not complain once. We just were at his house, just ran down the road 13 miles. Sorry, we ran down the road 7 miles and back, no water. So we did a half marathon, no food, no water. And then we broke it up more and we like split it in half each time. So we did 3 out, 3 back, 2 out, 2 back. Yeah. Anyway, it was a lot of fun.
But here's a guy that made a kind of a dare to himself, and then his coach said, "I'll do it with you."
Yeah.
What an experience that is, and he'll be able to talk about that when he's an old man.
Yeah.
I ran a marathon, a half marathon, and my coach was with me.
100%. If he wants to, he can talk about it. The thing about this guy is he's a doer, so he's just going to keep doing.
I think that's so cool. And you would talk about you were an inspiring presence for that kid. And that's great. Okay, I'd like to take a little detour away from what we've been doing. In my therapy practice, I'm a professional therapist, and so my practice was really focused on working with couples and working with guys like your age, just trying to figure life out, and many of them one of the issues that they bring in their concerns is dating, is being with a woman, and I'm not we're going to offer dating advice here today. But I did have a client. I'm sure you.
I don't have any dating advice.
Oh, would you help me get a girlfriend? I go, well, dude, I don't quite run that kind of a show here. But so Nick, I mean, what is you're a young guy. What's some of your perspectives in the dating world today? Because here, where I'm at, it's completely different. It was a whole different ballgame when I was a guy your age, and so I'm out of touch with that. So, what are some of the things that you've learned that could help other people as well? Stuff that you practice in that arena, so to speak.
Yeah. So for me, I think when I was younger, especially, and even still, I just put this pressure in my head when it comes to girls or dating or whatever. I'm not really sure why that is, and I think even with competition, when I competed in something, I had this little anxiety about competing, and I think I just was always too tied to outcomes, whether that be the outcome of a win or loss of a game, or the outcome of dating, whether or not this person's going to work out or whatever. And so I think there's just always this pressure in my head. So even again, I guess there's crossover between different parts of my life, but like what I preach to the wrestlers is it's not about winning or losing. It's about fighting. It's about not giving up. It's about going out there doing your best. Same thing with dating. I think it's not about whether or not this thing works out. It's just going out there and being yourself, and then also having fun. So having fun in the interaction and not just worrying about, hey, will they like me? Will they not like me or whatever, but just kind of taking each interaction by itself and having fun in conversation and doing fun things with the other person or whatever. So yeah, I haven't been very successful, but I've done better because I've kind of released expectations in dating and kind of.
Nick, that's really great advice. I mean,
Yeah.
it's great perspective. Seriously, it really is, because these major expectations of how this is going to work out, and the anxiety and projection. I mean, I'm walking down the aisle getting married. Wait a minute, I haven't even gotten her out of her dorm room yet, and you're all
Right. Yeah, I used to always just jump way too far ahead in my mind, and so a lot of times I was very picky in that. I was like, I just don't see this at all being, fruitful, and I think that selection is good, but at the same time, being willing or being open to somebody is can be good too, but also not having those expectations. But yeah, so now I'll just go to the bar, and I'm not looking for a girlfriend. I'm not looking for a wife. I mean, I am, right? Because
Mhm.
that those are goals in my life. But I'm
Yeah.
just looking to talk to people, get to know people, and then whatever works out works out. There's also I heard this somewhere. It's like you got to be careful, kind of, if you're like lonely or whatever, because you shouldn't go to a grocery store hungry. So you shouldn't go into a bar dating lonely. I think you just need to be comfortable with yourself and stuff. So
Boy, that is really good, Nick. That's really good. That's a good.
everything I have is stolen.
Well, as I've said before, all wisdom is plagiarism. Only
Yeah,
stupidity is
that's what
original. So right,
all racism is plagiarism. Yeah.
yeah. So hey, we're in this building. We're gonna go upstairs. So we get in the elevator. We get in the little box. The door closes, and there's you and me in the elevator. And we got like with 20 seconds up to go for a ride. What is it you want me to know, or learn, or hear, or listen from you when the door opens and we go our separate ways? What's your elevator speech to me?
I don't know that I would have something that I'd be like, unless I said God bless or something. I don't know if I have anything that's like, hey, I want this person to know that, because you're probably just a stranger. Or are you assuming that I know you, Bill?
Let's say you do know me. Let's
Okay.
don't worry about that. But what do you want me? What is you never see me the rest of my life, your life? But what is it you want me to know about you, or whatever? I'll leave you with me a little thought.
Well, I was just gonna say, if it was a stranger, and you wanted to have this conversation with them, I mean, you could either one just say, "Hey, I'm Nick. What's your name?" Right? Or introduce yourself. I think that's the best icebreaker of all time, is to just say, "Hey, you're who you are," or maybe compliment something about them. I think being a positive influence in the world is super, super important. And so that would be a very small example of that if I only had 20 seconds. But for them to know something about me, I don't know, because I don't really know if I care too much about, this other
Okay.
people knowing about
Okay.
me. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But but yeah, I guess it's my elevator pitch is, hey, how can I be a positive impact here?
Okay. All right. My little addendum to that was I love the banner behind you on the wall.
Oh, yeah. Nobody cares to work harder.
Yeah. Nobody
I
cares.
think I'm to say that to somebody though. I
Right.
think I think that's more so like if somebody's struggling, you say nobody cares, work harder, like stop feeling sorry for yourself. Or if somebody is winning and say nobody cares, work harder, you got to get better because there's always a bigger
Yeah.
fish. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. I
I,
think maybe I took that too literally. I don't know.
I love that flag, Nick. Yeah. So, well, Nick, thank you for being on Guy Shrink with me and talking about wrestling is life and a lot of other things as well. You've been listening to Nick Eby, who's a high school wrestling coach and a teacher in high school in Monroe, Michigan, and it's been a great conversation. You've been listening to Guy Shrink, where we talk about what keeps a guy awake at night. And if you've listened here and gotten something out of it and you really like it, share what you've got. Share with somebody else. Tell them about us. If you got a concern or you want to drop me a note, bill@guyshrink.com. And in the meantime, keep moving forward and be the man your life is asking you to be.
Thanks for having me, Bill. Nobody cares, work harder.
Yeah, thanks.